Story time! We're going to do things a little bit differently today because this is an update episode that I've been wanting to publish for a long, long time to finally give you the full picture of where I came from and how it's changed in the last 6 years and why I am where I am right now, especially for those of you who don't know me. So settle in. This is probably going to be a long one. Today, I want to talk about something that might surprise you. I am no longer Nutritarian. If you don't know what Nutritarian is, no worries, no problem. I'll explain it here today in a little bit. And for those of you who have been with me over the last 14 years following my journey on YouTube, this episode's going to explain everything Sherry style. So I've been posting on YouTube various food, drink, weight loss, body related things since I was 29. And I'm 43 now. So you've gotten quite a long ride watching me evolve over the years. And I haven't actually taken any of those videos down, FYI, except for the one that YouTube made me take down back in the day, which was called How to Take a Shot Like a Boss. I guess I was just really, really good at drinking alcohol back then, and YouTube would not stand for it. So feel free to browse any of my YouTube videos and see my whole journey in full transparency if you care to. So I started off in 2012 as a self-proclaimed foodie, and I was a local restaurant reviewer back in Sarasota, Florida. Then a year later, I turned Nutritarian, which is a healthy eating lifestyle from the book called Eat to Live. After that, I learned how to stop binge eating. Yes, that's an interesting order of events. And then I had 3 kids, including twins. I became a life and weight loss coach. And then I found my own eating style and method, which resulted in my shifting away from being a Nutritarian. And if you found me because of Eat to Live or the Nutritarian diet and you're sitting there right now like, wait, if Sherry's not Nutritarian anymore, then what hope is there for me? Or if you're thinking maybe, oh, she's just weak or she's making a grave mistake, just hang with me. I promise this isn't about giving up. This is about finding a way forward that works for your whole beautiful life. You're listening to the Set Point Science podcast, the science behind how your body and brain regulate weight for good. I'm your host, Sherry Alberts, and today we're talking about something I know many of you have been curious about for a long time, why I'm no longer a Nutritarian and what I took with me. Okay, settle in for story time. When I first discovered Dr. Fuhrman's work from that book, Eat to Live, I was telling you about, this was back in March of 2013. It was like a light bulb went off. The book said, eat for nutrient density so you can protect yourself from disease and maximize your health and your longevity. Nutritarianism gave me structure when I desperately needed it. At the time, I was going through a divorce. My father was dying of cancer. It all just felt like it fit. I always had this feeling about eating healthfully that it was really useful and that I felt like the body could heal itself if you gave it great food. And this is what we learn in Eat to Live. So when I read Eat to Live, I thought I found the way to do that. Eat to Live taught me the power of vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds, all the foods that genuinely nourish the body. And to this day, I still carry many of those habits. So I want to be clear, this isn't about me saying Nutritarianism was wrong or bad. It was an incredibly important part of my journey, and I know it has changed the lives of so many people for the better, and it's given many folks even a longer life because of it. But here's the part that people don't talk about enough. For years, I did Nutritarianism exactly as it was described. I lost weight. You saw me. I ate as clean as you could imagine. No processed foods, just vegetables, beans, fruits, nuts, and seeds. No salt, no oil, no sugar. For years. And I got really good at it. And you guys saw that. You saw my journey. You can check out those videos on my channel if you like from the years like 2014, 2017. This is where I was getting really good at this. But here's the thing. Even at my lowest weight before my daughter was born, I was still binging. And hey, if you're listening right now and wondering, why do I still binge and overeat even when I'm doing everything right? I need you to hear this, my friend. You are not broken. I was right there too. At the time, I didn't binge on fast food or candy or anything anymore, but I was usually binging on stuff like dates and almond butter, banana ice cream, nut bars, and sometimes like Trader Joe's clean snacks, right? But I was still in that cycle of overeating. I was never satisfied. So even though technically I was eating perfectly, food never felt calm the whole time. It was super confusing to me. I felt really upset. And I actually have videos about that show you my being upset, my binging, this kind of stuff. And because I was doing everything right, and I had been doing it for years, and I still didn't get the end of the food issues that I was expecting from eating all those micronutrients that the book promised, right? So when I say Nutritarianism didn't deliver exactly what I was promised, that's what I mean. It did not fix my binging. It didn't magically make my appetite perfectly regulated. I constantly still needed to get overfull to feel finished with a meal and shut off my brain. And if you're thinking, oh, maybe she's just not emotionally robust or she's unintelligent or something like that, I can see how you might think there's just something wrong with me maybe. But what I eventually realized is that there was nothing wrong with me at all. My nervous system was doing exactly what it does when food has been experienced as pressure instead of safety. And for me, I'm certain that the constant stress of trying to stick to the rules actually took away from the health benefits. And I want to say this gently, but clearly. If a way of eating only works when life is simple, predictable, and low stress, that doesn't mean the person failed. It means the system wasn't designed for real human lives. If this were about intelligence or discipline, I would have figured it out by now. What I learned instead is that bodies don't respond to moral standards. They respond to safety, consistency, and load. And I don't think the people who thrive on Nutritarianism are more disciplined or intelligent. I think their lives, stress levels, and nervous systems allow that lifestyle to feel supportive instead of demanding. So if sticking to it requires white knuckling or some kind of acrobatic for your nervous system, that's not a willpower problem. That's a regulation problem. And we need to make room for bodies that don't thrive under constant supervision to have a truly compassionate place in this conversation. Now, if you can stick to it and it feels effortless and sustainable, that's amazing, truly. And I wish I could be like that naturally. So keep doing what works for you. I'm not discouraging you at all. But for some of us, it doesn't work that way. And even in all my research as a content creator for the Nutritarian diet over the years, I learned from my own audience that the toughest part of being a Nutritarian was consistency and sticking to it. And if a large part of the folks who have tried it can't stick to it, then it can't be seen as an overall sustainable way of eating for many. So if you've been feeling like a failure because you can't stick to it forever, I want to release you from that right now. It's not that you're weak. It's that the plan itself may not fit you. And that's okay. It's okay for me. And that's why during and after my twin pregnancy, I knew I needed to do something different. And I needed to learn that there was nothing wrong with me for not being able to stick to it. If a way of eating prolongs my binging, then it's not the best way of eating for me. That was a hard lesson to figure out. But I also had to learn and remind myself that we truly are all different. And there is no one size fits all when it comes to nourishment. During this time, I would have moments of desire to be a strict Nutritarian. But after eating, I always ended up with this ravenous desire for heavier foods unless I overstuffed myself. It never made sense to me. I got in all my G-bombs for years and it still didn't fix everything for me. I didn't know it then, but spoiler alert, I was really just starved for some more protein. I'll get back to that in a minute though. So in 2018, here's my turning point. In 2018, I had my first daughter and I lost those 50 pounds that I had gained with that pregnancy, but I did it with that forceful kind of like 21-day challenge energy. I used to run those at the time, but even then my success felt tenuous. I didn't know if I would be able to sustain my weight loss, and I was always worried that I was going to gain it back. Sure enough, over the next year, I gained 8 pounds back, and I thought the only way to lose it again was to do one of those strict 21-day challenges to get my way back to that lower weight. I never, ever felt like what I was doing was easily or fully sustainable. It was always surprising to me that I was at these weights, and I just always felt like I wasn't going to be able to keep it off. So then in 2019, I ended up getting pregnant with my twins. That pregnancy was really interesting for me because I tried everything I possibly could to sustain Nutritarian while I was pregnant, even using Dr. Fuhrman's specific advice to just pretend you're on a desert island and you don't have any other options. And I just couldn't manage it. I also had gestational diabetes, and I read every single piece of information that was available at the time in Dr. Fuhrman's forum and all his books. I read everything I could in order to maintain my sugar levels for the pregnancy. I truly felt obsessed with getting this right. But listen, one can only eat so much tofu and almonds. And I realized halfway into this pregnancy that it was an actual physical impossibility for me to sit up long enough to make a salad like I had before, let alone eat it. Even if I had someone making the salads for me, I still couldn't sit up and eat it long enough. There was not enough room in my smushed stomach to hold a salad either. And it just wasn't enough calories. I was ravenous all the time, making two babies in there, and it was too painful for my body to sit in that upright position with those two babies in there. So I knew that something needed to give, and I went to chicken to solve my problem. Now, hold on. Believe me when I tell you I had a very hard time doing this. Deciding this felt like going back on my word. It felt like I was weak. It felt so foreign and cruel to eat an animal after many years of being vegetarian and vegan. I knew I would be judged for this, but I also knew that my body physically could not handle anything else. I tried many times. And the first day that I ate chicken, I was amazed. I saw that my blood sugar was perfectly stable after being very iffy on Nutritarian foods, even tofu, almonds, things like that. And miraculously, I could get enough calories into my belly in 5 minutes so I could go rest again. It felt like a miracle and a saving grace in a way. And I know some of you might also be thinking, but like, what about climate change? What about animal cruelty? And listen, I respect those concerns about climate change and animal cruelty. I used to live by them. But what I realized in this time of my life was I can't put the sustainability of the earth ahead of the sustainability of my own body and my babies. If I'm not here, healthy, present, alive, I can't care for my kids, my community, and even any of those other causes. So my first responsibility had to become my own survival and healing. It was this moment that I truly realized not every diet can fit for everyone in every circumstance of their life. And what I needed to work on at the time was my guilt about all of this so I could lower my stress level. And this is when I was struggling the most. It felt like ripping apart a quilt that I had taken years to create, knowing many others wouldn't understand if they saw what I was doing. So I kept doing Nutritarian things in my business and supporting that. And I was working as hard as possible to get back to Eat to Live. I hired an amazing coach who helped me get back into eating salads and losing weight again. I was feeling great. But when the babies turned 1, things took another tough turn, as many of you know. In 2021, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. My whole world turned upside down. So if Eat to Live was supposed to protect you, and daily flaxseed was supposed to protect you, and the amount that I had in the previous decade didn't protect me, what was going on? Over the next few years, with treatments including surgery, radiation, and then a powerful hormone treatment that removed all of my estrogen production on purpose, I was forced to do some things I never thought I would, like being on drugs for cancer prevention. I took a very powerful anti-estrogen injection called Lupron, which immediately put me into menopause. I heard so many stories of someone's sister who wished she had done Lupron when she refused it because she ended up getting cancer again. And now this time it was metastatic or whatever. So I knew that taking the drugs was something that was right for me. That was a hard decision though, after having sworn off medication as much as possible for so many years, thinking it was toxic and harmful. And the side effects still were real though. After 6 months on this chemical menopause treatment and some very scary panic attacks, I decided to start taking an antidepressant to counteract the side effects of the Lupron, including hot flashes. I was getting like 20 to 25 hot flashes per day, and the depression and anxiety. I was in menopause in an instant, and I didn't know which way was up. Over this time, I also realized how much work it is for a woman to take care of 2 infants and a 3-year-old. My husband always traveled for work during this time, so it had just been me taking care of the kiddos during the week, Monday to Friday. The demands of all of it, running a business, caring for the kids, using all my revenue to hire nannies and babysitters to help me, juggling cancer treatments and hormonal shifts. Oh, and that little pandemic that we all went through too, all of it just really took a toll. After the cancer treatments, the weight started creeping back on. At first, I blamed myself, like maybe I just wasn't strong enough as a mom. Maybe I was too weak to control my eating. But then I realized over time that it actually wasn't me, it was the medications. The treatments had hijacked my hormones, my brain chemistry, turning my hunger signals totally upside down. My eating was actually pretty normal, but the drive to overeat was now relentless for some reason. It felt like my brain was screaming at me constantly, like trying to hold this tidal wave back with a bucket. It was impossible. And before I knew it, I had regained all of my pregnancy weight back, about 40 pounds, in just 9 months. So I made a shift. Instead of obsessing about losing the weight, I decided to just focus on trying not to gain anymore. I knew I had to stem that tide first to slow this upward climb. So that actually became my first victory at this time, finding stability before chasing weight loss. Also interesting was that my weight now just stayed in my belly. It had never done that before. I've always been the type to gain in my hips and thighs and sort of all over rather than just my belly. So that's how I knew this had to be hormonal. A lot of attempts later, I realized that the weight wasn't going away. I started to learn to accept it for what it was, unchangeable with the tools that I currently had at that moment, but I still held out hope that I'd be able to figure it out. And then I was going to tell the world about it. And listen, if you've been through your own whirlwind, pregnancy, menopause, medications, health challenges, whatever, or even if you haven't, maybe it's just been, a tough life with external circumstances or something. And if you thought, why can't I just do it like I used to? Why can't I lose weight like I did when I was in my 30s? Let me say this clearly. Please listen. Nothing is wrong with you. Your body is protecting you, and forcing it harder only backfires. Now, here's the problem with so many rigid diets. I said this before. If it doesn't fit into your real life, the message is that your life is the problem. You're told you need to cook differently. You need to socialize differently. You need to raise your kids differently. You need to travel differently. Basically, you need to bend your whole entire existence until it matches the plan. And when you can't, the conclusion is always the same. You're the problem. You just need to try harder. You just have bad willpower. But that's backwards. A plan that can't flex to pregnancy, parenthood, stress, or just normal messiness of life is not a plan built for real humans. Your life isn't the problem. Your biology isn't the problem. The rigidity is the problem. So instead of saying, I failed the plan, what if we told the truth, which is that the plan failed me? And if it failed me, Sherry Alberts, who had a business and a YouTube channel dedicated to this plan, if it failed me, it's probably failing so many other people out there, maybe it's you, who are still quietly blaming yourself. And I know for some of you hearing me say I'm no longer a Nutritarian, it brings up a lot of fear. I've been there. I used to believe if I wasn't maximizing every single micronutrient every single day, I was basically shaving years off my life. But here's what I learned from both the science and from real life. Micronutrients are still important. I'm not ignoring those. I eat lots of fiber, lots of vegetables, fruits, beans, nuts, whatever, whole foods, every single day. What changed for me is that I stopped believing that more is always better, or that perfection with micronutrients is the only path to health. And here's the bigger realization. During those years of trying to be perfect, I also learned how unsustainable it was to carry the pressure, how much that contributed to stress, binging, and a feeling of overall failure. The more I chased perfection, the worse I felt. So now, instead of living in fear of missing something, I focus on patterns that make me feel strong and whole. True whole health is about balance, protein, strength, quality sleep, daily rest, whole foods, pleasure, mental well-being, consistency, community, love. Not about hitting some theoretical maximum of every single phytochemical. And honestly, the stress that I carried about not getting enough was doing me more harm than the food itself. All right, so here's the part where I'm going to get a little bit coachy with you. Are you ready? If you're having a really strong reaction to this video, like if your brain is screaming right now, but you're going to die without micronutrients, I get it. That used to be my brain too. But I have found that health actually comes from patterns, not the pursuit of perfection. And it's those patterns that I want to help people build here. The stress of trying to hit a perfect ideal is actually counterproductive to what you're trying to attain with that perfection anyhow. Like some of the perfection chasing cancels out some of the perfection results. So if you're feeling super triggered right now, like she's wrong, she just doesn't get it, that might actually be a signal that there's something for you in here. Sometimes that strong reaction is just your brain trying to protect old beliefs. But if you could potentially shift into curiosity instead, like, I wonder if there could be a little nugget of truth here for me, that's when real growth becomes possible. And maybe some of you are even thinking, why should I take advice from someone who's clearly gained weight? I hear that. And honestly, if I'd only ever stayed thin and never struggled, I would not have the perspective that I have now. The truth is, my journey, my weight gain, the medical changes, the binging, the trial and error, it is exactly what gives me the experience to help because I've lived it. I've wrestled with it, with 3 young babies, cancer, menopause, building a business, pandemic, and of course, a lot more. And I've come out the other side with tools that actually work in real life, not just in theory. So if that thought pops up for you, I invite you to flip it. Maybe I'm the exact right person to listen to precisely because I've walked through the struggle and still found a sustainable way forward. So what do I do now instead? Well, I started shifting my focus, as I said before. So instead of chasing perfection, I began asking what actually feels sustainable to me today in this life. What supports my health long term without making me feel trapped? That's when I landed on what I now call set point science. Here's the idea. Your body has a defended weight range. If we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, this is typical for many of us. And we call this set point. When you feel safe, nourished, consistent, that set point can actually shift itself downward. It's not about extreme restriction, pushing, never eating certain foods, all that kind of stuff. It's about balance. For me, that looks like prioritizing protein at every meal. Side note, I just want to say every plant-based creator is going to give you the same line of, who do you know whoever died of a protein deficiency, right? But that's a blunt tool or a blunt idea that everyone repeats. Notice how every single creator repeats those same lines. And you know automatically that if every single person is regurgitating the same stuff, then it's not personalized for each individual. When I opened my eyes and I got curious and asked, I wonder if more protein will actually help me, not from a judgmental or scared place, but from an open, creative place. And I found out that, whoa, yes, actually more protein actually makes things so much simpler for myself, faster. And I also had less cravings overall. And I wouldn't have found that if I hadn't been willing to find what worked for me specifically. Other things that made me feel more balanced were strength training to build lean muscle. I mean, at the time, last year when I started doing the strength training, I actually had osteopenia. So I had a real physical reason to start strength training. And I have since resolved that in just 9 months of weight training. So that became a very important part of my journey. I also continued to eat mostly whole foods, but without obsession this time. And maybe most importantly, using psychology and neuroscience to rewire the habits and restore trust in my own hunger cues. And if you're sitting there feeling confused because you've tried so many diets and none of them have worked, listen. This isn't about trying harder. Oh, I just need to try harder. I need to get more disciplined. I need to get better at meal prepping, meal planning, whatever. No, it's actually about creating safety and rhythm so your body stops fighting you. And if you're still Nutritarian and it's working beautifully for you, that's amazing. I'm always going to honor that path. But for me, and for so many women that I've coached over the years, hundreds and hundreds, sustainability matters more than rigidity. What we really have always needed is a rhythm that feels doable in real life. One that works not just for a season, but for the long haul. And that's what Set Point Science is all about. So that brings me to this channel. You've seen a little bit here already on my podcast as I launched it, but this space, this YouTube channel started as what I called the watering mouth. It shifted to Nourish Your Lifestyle, and for a hot minute, it was called How to Stop Binge Eating Forever. And now we are Set Point Science. And as I said, you've already seen some of what I've done with this podcast, but what you can expect going forward are videos and the podcast that break down the science of weight regulation in plain English, psychology and neuroscience insights on how habits stick or don't, and my own personal experiences with food, weight, strength training, parenting, all of it woven in, because I want you to see the real life application of this science, as well as support, space, and community for how to make these changes in your own life. If you loved my honesty and storytelling before, you'll keep getting that. If you loved the food ideas I used to give, you'll still see them, but it's going to be more framed in this bigger picture of how the body actually regulates weight. I'm going to be honest with you. This has not been an easy shift for me. Even coming on here to talk about this has been really tough. There were times when I thought maybe I just lost my willpower, or maybe I wasn't cut out for strict eating anymore, or maybe I just wasn't a disciplined person and had no, just no discipline in general. I know this to be untrue though, because I'm disciplined in everything else. It's easy for me to just get my work done, pick my kids up, do all the regular life stuff. So I know discipline is not my issue. I've always exercised. I go for walks. I love to exercise, right? It's not my issue. It's when the body doesn't feel like the plan fits itself. That's the problem. So when my body was defending itself in a way that I didn't fully understand at the time, it was so confusing. But strength training, hitting protein goals, and learning to listen to my own body, my own hunger. Again, these techniques have helped me slowly but surely move forward. I've seen real changes in my body and, more importantly, in my mindset. And if you're listening and you feel like I've tried everything and nothing works, I want you to hear this. There is still a path forward for you. It just might look different than what you expected, and that's okay. That's why I feel so strongly about sharing this new chapter with you. It's not just theory, it's lived experience. I know what it feels like to struggle, and I know what it feels like to finally find a way that feels doable and kind. So here's what I'd love. If you've been here since my Nutritarian days, let me know down in the comments what drew you to this lifestyle and how has your journey evolved. I'd love to hear your story, and I promise you, you are not alone in this. And if you want to keep exploring the science of how your body really regulates weight and how to finally feel at peace with food, hit subscribe. I've got so much coming that I think will make things click for you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here, for allowing me to evolve in front of you. This channel has always been about honesty and growth, and I think this new direction is going to help so many of us finally feel at peace with food and our bodies. So welcome to Set Point Science. This is not about giving up on health. It's about finding a way forward that works with your life, not against it. And I believe that you can find that too. So until next time, understand and be gentle with your biology and be brave enough to outgrow the plan.